So I think we should start this morning with some meditation. So get comfortable. So when you sit down to meditate, what do you do? I'm sure you know, there are many different methods. The main one I've used over the years has been the mindfulness of in and out breathing. But I've used a lot of other approaches as well. So oftentimes, as soon as I bring my attention to my breath, my whole body and mind relax, just out of habit, which is quite nice. But of course, that isn't always the experience. And for some people that I know, when they sit down to meditate, the first thing they encounter is drowsiness, dullness. And then they need to find their way of addressing that and without aversion, without judgment. Just coming to understand that hindrance and why it appears so regularly. And taking steps to relieve the mind of it. The same with any of the other hindrances. We often, when we sit down to meditate, might encounter restlessness because we have a restless form, body, and a restless thinking mind, especially if it's stimulated a lot. Most of us these days have a lot of mental stimulation. So many things pounding on the sense doors. And meditation is this opportunity to close our eyes and let go of noise. Set aside taste and smell. And hopefully be comfortable enough that touch can be ignored. And then the mind being given something to put its attention on that's calming, gentle, like the breath or the perception of loving kindness or other Brahma Viharas or the perception of the unbeautiful, the perception of not self, perception of emptiness. It's really one lovely way to think of not self. The body empty of self, the mental activity empty of self. There's processes running on their own that can fade into the background, allowing the mind to become tranquil and the body to become tranquil, calm, relaxed. We can rest in meditation, in the calm, or we can be noticing thoughts coming through the mind or whatever might be happening. And I think the question I have is, can we connect to something deeper? The knowing, that which observes whatever might be coming up in meditation, physical feelings or mental activity, or just being in this pleasant abiding of calm. But there's something important that underlies all of that. And I notice when we're being aware of whatever's happening in this present moment, that awareness has a depth to it, a continuity to it. It's the opening to what we haven't known before: insight, wisdom. And it's pleasant, happy, sometimes blissful, wise, steady. And we know it directly in the present moment. It's where we experience that. And it's always there. The Dhamma, Nibbana. And this sense of self and the clinging to anything is gone. The feeling of wanting to get something or get rid of something is gone. Or maybe there's some feeling, aversion, emotion, whatever is there, but we're observing it so we can see it not as me or mine, but just a phenomena. So then the experience of meditation in the present moment really isn't a technique anymore. It's an abiding. Abiding in that knowing. It's a spiritual experience. Our materialities, just something to observe, not something to be or even to have, just phenomena. To be seen and known for what it is. Then concerns for the body, concerns for how we appear in the world to other people. So many concerns just fall away. There's nothing personal in this presence with this present, this only time that we have now. From that position of seeing and knowing. We don't have to try to let go of anything because there's nothing to let go of. And trying is part of that being perception. And when things arise, like some discomfort in the body or some image from past conditioning, you can just observe it. It's arising and passing away in the mind. And everything we encounter in the world and meditation or not is just arising and passing away in the mind. If we grasp it, we suffer. If we observe it moving, changing, or seeming to be solid and still, regardless, to be the observer, to be the knowing, relieves us of all suffering. Resting and trusting in that awareness. That spiritual energy that has a loving, kind basis. We can slowly come out of this meditation, but still stay in the awareness, the mindfulness, so that we can see with our eyes and hear and use the senses, but still be present, happy, or whatever is arising, whatever is coming through the mind and the body. I've been reflecting a bit on suffering and its causes, and talking with people who are experiencing various kinds of discomfort in life. And it seems pretty clear that one of the big obstacles to happiness and relief is a materialistic perspective that, of course, we're all exposed to and all adopt to a certain degree this idea that we are the body, that this at some level is who or what we are. And it can really be surprising to me sometimes when talking to someone who's been meditating for many years or involved in the Dhamma and listening to Dhamma for a long time, maybe studying it, but still has a very strong materialistic view. I ask them, what do you think happens when you die? It surprises me for someone to say nothing. Nothing happens. It's still really being rooted in the idea that this material reality of samsara is all there is. I would say most people, though, that I encounter who have been practicing have, or even if they've never really practiced meditation per se, or thought about Dhamma the way we talk about it from the Buddha's teachings, people still have a perception and understanding or experience that there is something beyond the material world. And, how is it that we experience that? And what is it that causes us to let go of our attachment to material things, the body, what we gather around us to help us be comfortable and entertained and feel safe? Because the safety that we derive from materiality is, of course, unreliable. So, what we want to do is really pay attention to the evidence that we have of what's beyond the material world. And it's good to recognize where we're still clinging to the material world and the perception of materiality as self. A person can even have the kind of experience that Ajahn Sumedho described when he was in that first year of being in robes as a samanera, and he was practicing in this kuti by himself in a monastery where no one spoke English and he couldn't speak Thai. So he was very isolated and just dealing with his own mind. And he talks about the first 3 months being real torture with a lot of anger and other really negative mental states arising. And then one morning, it was all gone, and he woke up and everything was luminous. And that experience of luminosity, of really the perception of just ordinary things, like his kuti was just like it was radiant and beautiful, and in that kind of perception, colors are incredibly vibrant and can walk around the world, just everything being so splendid and happy, uplifted. like walking off top, like 3 feet off the ground kind of feeling. And this can come from insight. I have a friend who talks about it as a breaking open of the heart. She had that experience many years ago. She's not Buddhist, she's fundamentally Catholic, I think. But it doesn't matter. It's like that kind of spiritual experience can happen, or maybe it never does, doesn't matter. Some other way that we see, you experience things that just are not part of the ordinary sensory experience. And still, someone can be ignoring that as an indication that there's something beyond materiality. It's kind of fascinating how caught up we can be in this idea that nothing happens, nothing's beyond this material life. Which, of course, the Buddha talked about as wrong view. There is this world and the other world. And what does he mean by that other world? So Nibbana, very hard to conceptualize, maybe impossible. But when we are letting go of our attachments, even momentarily, and feeling that peacefulness, that calm, and that energy that arises in the heart, and insight into Dhamma. Regardless, there can be any kind of knowledge or vision. But when we have these experiences of something being shown, something that we haven't seen before, insight, it's important to recognize and to investigate, inquire, not in a mental thinking mind way, but from the heart. Like, where does that come from? Where does that insight come from? And this kind of like letting that kind of question hang there can really help us open up to a deeper knowing and understanding of what's not material, what's mystical. That which seems to a person who's really rooted in the material world as insubstantial, but actually we come to understand that it's the other way around. The material world is insubstantial, and the other world, or the understanding, the experience, the direct knowing of Dhamma is what's reliable. What is the ground of our being. And how we can tell that that's what we're touching into is the results. the results of clinging to materiality are fear and worry, as far as I can tell, because it changes. The results of resting in whatever we want to call it, awareness, pure consciousness, Dhamma, and using that as the impetus for how we live our life. Fear and worry begin to fade away. You might have encountered a book from quite a long time ago now, written by a quite famous Sri Lankan monk, called How to Live Without Fear and Worry. And I don't know if I ever finished it. Reading it, I didn't feel as inspired as I thought I would be, partly because I think so many of the examples that have caused fear and worry to diminish in my own experience are more modern, maybe, I don't know, more directly relatable or significant to me. So maybe we each have to write our own book, How to Live Without Fear and Worry. Like when I have the opportunity to be in the presence of someone whose health is very challenged, and they might be looking at more or less the last period of life, it becomes so clear that their experience and faith and understanding of what's beyond this material body and mind, thinking mind, is what really is the ground of our being and the source of our strength, the source of our joy and happiness. So when we find ourselves, whether we're feeling like we're kind of in the last stage of life, which becomes, of course, more and more obvious as we age, or we're just in a sort of situation where things are really difficult, how can we be with that in a way that we're grounded in the Dhamma, grounded in and experiencing nibbana instead of fear and worry? And I think this practice of present moment awareness is the key. So when challenging mental states or physical experience come, we want to observe it, be present with it, but recognize it for what it is. Remind ourselves that we can step back from it, put it into a larger context. Use what we have available. Sometimes for me, because I've spent so much time using in and out, the mindfulness of in and out breathing, that mindfulness is really supported if I still have the breath. But it's not to cling to that physical experience, but to use it as an opening to the mystical experience, calming the body, calming the mind, and really being present with what's arising in this moment, knowing that whatever it is, I can be with it. And we develop this confidence by using this way of relating to what's coming through our senses, what's coming through our body, what's coming through our thinking mind over and over again, whether it's something that has, very weak or subtle result or a strong experience, we can be present with it. Just practice that, regardless of what's happening. Maybe many times a day, you're stopping and being present with instead of caught up in whatever's happening. And then as we develop that ability, when we are struck by something very strong, we're more likely to remember that I can be present with this strong experience in a way that I don't have to suffer. So when we're dealing with the body starting to fall apart one way or another, we want to bring in a reminder to really be present with that, to not worry about what might happen, to notice if there are thoughts of worry and fear, to be present with those thoughts of worry and fear from that grounded position of Dhamma. So present with it with wisdom. And it's so, I find so beautiful and wonderful that that presence with has the tone of love and kindness. It's just there. And then we can notice like how caught up, how attached, how still influenced by the ideas and perception of materiality we are. And our reflection on the nature of the material world can help us to let go, seeing its impermanence. We don't have control over it. We can't make it be the way we want it to be. We can step back and observe it and let go and really be aware of the quality of that awareness, of the reliability of awareness. So someone told me the other day that they're going to need the reminding of this many times as they go through this phase of their life. And I think it's valuable to even, have a recorded messages, that we can listen to, reminding us to be with this pain, this discomfort, whatever happens with the body, with the mind, that it's really passing phenomena. It's the material world. The body belongs to this world. It doesn't belong to me. a self. It's hard to use language to describe what we really are. That ground of Dhamma, but that is what we really are. There's just no personal being in that. And then, all these other things that come with materiality of, seeing the differences in people, the categorizations and the higher and lower and all of the different kind of ways that we divide, that all goes away. And most of the conceptual divisions that human beings create are for the purpose of power and control, for the purpose of winning somehow. But there's no winning in that, because there's no relief and peace from fear and worry. Instead, when we let go of that, when we start to recognize that there is no better, worse, or equal, that's the freedom from fear and worry. And that's the freedom from the tyranny of materialism. And that's available to us all. So when you have moments where you're not clinging to anything, really notice that. And sometimes an image or a message can come through at those times, and really notice that. And bring your mind back to that when you're not in that space. You can come back to it. Inspire yourself to let go. Inspire yourself in a way that letting go comes naturally. That stepping back and seeing and knowing things in the light of Dhamma becomes our habit. It becomes our go-to method, you might say. And from there, just observing what unfolds and seeing it, seeing the insubstantiality of sankharas, the concoctions, the formulations of this world. And then, of course, people ask, well, how do you live in the world if you kind of like think like this? And promote or develop this way of seeing. Well, of course, the way you live in the world is way better without all that attachment. And then when the Dhamma guides us, our life in the world is useful. enjoyable. We can be happy and supportive of others and discerning in where we place our energy and our attention. Um, this is not a rejection of the world. It's not a rejection of living beings or um, samsara. It's an understanding of it and a letting go of it. So living in the world and not of the world becomes our reality. And then compassion arises for the suffering that living beings experience. And compassion doesn't, when we don't have that commitment to materiality and our grasping of it, um, then compassion also isn't sad. It's solidly supportive. So most of the time, I think most of us are somewhere in between. You know, we have in the beginning or in the middle, I don't know, but we have these times when we can really be in that place of being present, being um, unattached, being there to support and help without any attachment. And then, of course, there is all the vipaka kama of whatever might be coming habits that we follow. And that's okay. It's just that as soon as we can see it and be present with it, we immediately come back to non attachment. When we get toward the end of the path, the like the Dhamma is beautiful in the beginning, beautiful in the middle, and beautiful in the end. But the suffering becomes less and less because our grasping onto the material world is less and less. And our delusion about who we are, what we are, is less and less until it isn't there anymore and we're free from suffering. So I'm going to stop there and you can let me know whether you thought that was useful or not, or any questions you might have. Catherine, is you just waving, or did you want to talk?
That's the ability to find the right button. But yeah, I would like to speak. Hi. Thank you so much for your talk. Um, I think I've heard you say several times before, and maybe in this talk too, about like really valuing moments of insight. I don't know, there was just something came up for me a few weeks ago, and I'd be really interested in your thoughts on like how I can make the most of it. Which was I was listening to one of the Abhayagiri talks. Um, it's not his name, but something like Karuna.
Dhamma?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I've been really enjoying his talks. And And he said something which obviously I've heard probably hundreds of times before about suffering being craving, craving being suffering. And just suddenly it made so much more sense. And I just suddenly everything feels like, like I crave some cake. I think, oh, but I can have something that's even better than cake. I can have presents. Or,
Yeah.
I crave watching some TV program like, oh, yeah, but I could just have presents that's so much better. And suddenly just it's so obvious that all of the things that I crave are just insignificant compared to letting them go and just dwelling in presence or whatever that, yeah, I'm saying dwelling in presence as sort of my experience of being
Yeah.
aware, being present.
Yep. I get it.
And it does, and it comes and it goes,
Yep.
remembering to remember that I remembered that, remember that that was really, but whenever I remember it is still kind of there, but yeah, I want to make the most of it because it does just keeps fading away again. And I'm like, oh, what was I thinking? And then I remember when I remember. Yeah.
That's beautiful, Catherine. That's just what I'm talking about, really. Yes. Yes. And I like your the way that came through for you. Like, oh, I could have something better. I could just be present with this. Yeah, it's great. Um, and that is how we make use of it by practicing, to keep coming back to that. And then, I like the things the examples you used are, really ordinary everyday things that we experience. And when you keep coming back to being present with it, um, then that becomes our habit. And we want to do that with everything, even the more and more subtle things, and to really see them, like what you're saying, you're seeing you know, how insignificant these things really are. That's the Dhamma. You're seeing it with the Dhamma. It's beautiful. And so, what you're describing about it kind of fades away because the world is constantly kind of pulling us back into this whole charade that's going on. It's so inviting and alluring and delusion creating. So it's like you're doing everything I think that you can to remember, which is like listening to the Dhamma and reminding yourself, and that's what we need to do. When we start to feel like, yeah, this beautiful being present with is so much more satisfying, freeing, comforting, inspiring than any of that stuff that we could be craving or clinging to, then there's a real tipping point. We're not going back. Even if you forget for a little bit, you're not going back. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Catherine. Joni?
Good morning. Thank you for the talk. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the who and what we are really, as opposed to what we think we are, or the being bound by attachments and clinging and the sense bases. the
Yeah.
pure consciousness. If you could,
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, we are, the first thing we need to do is really ask those questions of, am I really this body? Am I really this, kind of person with these particular tendencies or emotions? And when we look at each thing like that, we can see how impermanent it is. So we begin to understand that what's impermanent can't possibly be my real self. That can be a hard thing to grasp. So it's like, okay, this body is constantly changing. I can't control it. It has its own timing. It has its own processes that are outside my control. That's not a self. That's not our true self. And we have to look at all different things, see the emotions coming and going, seeing the states of mind coming and going, recognizing that our beliefs and our opinions change, our personality changes. Somebody says something or something happens. The the other day, this beautiful Thai, very nice cup and saucer fell out of the cupboard and the saucer broke. Very nice reminder. Everything here, this is impermanent. So now I started using it. I didn't use it otherwise. Now it's not. Now it's ready for use because it's going to fall apart. And when we start to recognize, really see that, we know that's not our true home. That's not a basis for security and happiness. And then, when we start to, like I said, to get glimpses of, well, what doesn't change? What is our true home? We start to recognize that when we take that position of observing, that experience is consistent, the observer itself. And it's so hard to describe. So we have to know it ourselves. Okay, I can hear what Catherine is saying about, I can have presence instead of this whatever. And that's so much better. It's something better. But what is it really? So the way I experience it is that I feel this incredible calm, maybe some energy in my heart area. I can sometimes insight comes through that you never would have thought of, because it's not part of our normal thinking process. It's not part of our conditioning. This knowing with Dhamma, seeing clearly the impermanent nature of things. This is what we can really rely on.
My experience of this has been one of connectedness without boundaries.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And sometimes we think a particular kind of meditation experience is it, but it's fleeting and we can't get it back. You've noticed that kind of thing can happen. And when we try to repeat a meditation experience that's quite beautiful and wonderful, usually we can't do it at all, because it's not about getting something. And so when we take this position of witnessing and observing, we're just present with this, whatever it is. And in that presence, whatever we're experiencing, however we're experiencing it, we can notice this underlying consistency. It's not like something rare that we have to find or get. So maybe we do experience that boundlessness, experiencing it that way, but it's not like a peak moment. It's more like this is a quality of that ground of being. Does that make sense, Joni?
Say that again.
That what you're talking about, this boundless, what did you call it?
Connectedness without boundaries, which I experience when there's a profound letting go.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And do you have the sense of that when you take the position of witnessing?
Yeah, it's not from a self point of view. It's not from a self.
Yeah, it's not from a self point of view, and I'm suggesting that it's not kind of a peak experience coming from meditation, for example. It's more like just there.
Yes, uh, it arises on its own.
Yeah. Yeah, so as you
I'm
can,
not making it happen. I'm not trying to
yeah.
capture it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I can remember it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I can remember the feeling of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the more I would recommend just being present when you're present in that way with Dhamma, just noticing the qualities that are there. And then, if sometimes you feel that connectedness, but it's more like it's just there as part of that ground of being. Because I've had it both ways. I've had it as kind of a peak experience in meditation. And I've also can sense it through this very calm, subtle, but immediately present here and now
Yeah.
experience of mindfulness, really. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And
Thank you.
the reason I'm putting attention on that is because when we're going through challenging times with the body in particular, then we're not looking for some kind of pleasurable spiritual experience to relieve us, but really just the whatever we experience in that ground of being that is naturally, fundamentally loving and
Mm. Yeah.
consistently available. That's what we'll rely on. That's what I think.
Thank you. Yeah,
But when
that resonates.
yeah, that quote in the sutta is about consciousness that is without feature, without end, luminous all around. That is available here and now. That is what's here and now. When we're present with it, we can experience that.
Which sutta is that?
There's a passage in the Majjhima Nikaya. Don't remember which one. If you put that into like a Google search, you might have to tell them in the Pali canon or whatever, it'll come up with the references.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Spring?
I think I lost my train of thought a little bit, but I'll do my best here. Some of this is the memory problems now since Ron died, comes and goes. But there's been this just resident knot in my stomach in my solar plexus since he died. It's beginning to feel some calm, but the overall, I don't know, whatever it was you said, I can't think now. I can't quite feel it. I knew what you said it. I can't quite feel it because there's just this overarching grieving over
Yeah.
everything.
Mhm.
There's no joy in anything.
Mhm.
It's just trying to put one foot in front of the other every day because I'm still here and I need to survive. So
So there's
I'm
no
sort
joy.
of, I'm sorry, what?
I was just going to ask you, so there's no joy in like listening to the Dhamma at this point?
I can't say that what I feel is joy. I feel at this point in time, it's only the Dhamma that's gotten me this far. And when I listen to talks, I feel some comfort during that time. So that's really quite a lot, actually, to be thankful for at this point.
Yeah. And do you feel any relief when you kind of step back and observe the feelings, the knot in your stomach, for example? Do you have any relief when you just are present with it in a loving way?
The loving way is the trick, and that's hard for me, and I'm becoming more aware of that difficulty. The only thing that is coming is some calmness in that feeling of that, some bit of easing just a bit off the
Yeah.
edges of it, maybe. Maybe it's just a matter of time. I don't know.
Yeah. I think a matter of time and also maybe directing the mind
Okay.
towards that calm,
Okay.
just noticing there is that calm, there is that kind of beginning of it becoming more diffuse, that not just
So
be.
it's like I can kind of take refuge in whatever level of calm is there for now.
Mhm. The more
Okay.
we put, the more we put our attention on the the positive, the uplifting, like that. It's not, I don't mean like covering it over and bypassing anything, but being present with what you're experiencing and noticing any relief that comes from that, any calm, um, any, you don't have to think about it. You don't even have to label it at all. Just being attentive to the more pleasant feelings.
Okay.
That
That's
comes
helpful.
from.
Yeah, it doesn't have to manifest as joy, but if there's the calm itself can be seen as a pleasant
Mhm.
place to take some refuge.
Yeah, and really, directing your mind towards that as much as possible. And when you're present with that knot in your stomach, just being observing of it, the calm itself will have, I think, the calm itself will have the flavor, the scent of kindness, of metta,
Okay. Um,
and noticing that,
yeah,
and directing the mind away from rumination over the loss and rumination over
yeah,
the change and all of that, because the more you think about that, the
yeah.
more upset, stirred up, and tight everything becomes.
Yeah, it's difficult being alone in an empty house at this point in time because that's just the way it is right now. But it's challenging because that's what I wake up to every morning into that.
Yeah, so you got to use the ways that you have to fill the house with goodness and light, playing the Dhamma maybe nonstop.
Mhm.
And you already know that it's better to be there alone than with people who are going to take advantage of you or
Mhm.
be harsh or mean. So you have an environment where kindness can pervade.
Okay, an environment where kindness can pervade. That's important. It's interesting because there's a flip side to this whole situation in that there's this such aloneness
Mhm.
that feels very frightening often. And I'm frightened pretty much most of the time. I've always been a frightened person, but it's very acute now.
Mhm.
And then the flip side is it's a golden opportunity for practice.
Mhm.
It's like the cave in the snow, you know.
So
Um,
one thing that I did when I was living alone and wanted to really be focused on the holy life was I made photos of all of the ajahns that helped me, and I hung them on the wall.
okay, that's
And
good.
make yourself not alone.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I have some things up. Actually, I have a few of those and I do look at them, but some more would be a good idea.
Yeah, and play the Dhamma talks, and you're good at writing. Write to us all, write to whoever, write, like, or just, find the ways that help you remember that you really are not alone.
It's almost as if I have to find new ways now because writing has always been that release and refuge for me, and it's sort of stuck right now.
Okay. Maybe you just talk it through.
Yeah, I've taken to talking to, there's no one here, but I just talk out loud, just sometimes just to see if there's a voice still there.
Okay. That's okay. You got to find those ways of, because so when, the question of like, what is that ground of being?
Yeah,
It's unitive. There's no separation.
it's unitive. There's no
Yeah.
separation.
There's
Are
no
you saying more?
separation. You're not a separate self.
Okay. That's what I forget. When we get caught in that aloneness, that's what I forget.
Yeah. I mean, and my experience, even when I was much younger and my grandparents died, and I really recognized that there's no real separation. It's like this is part of that experience beyond the material,
Mm,
and to remind ourselves of that, to listen to voices who are talking about that, to really find that support and make use of it. Direct your mind in that way.
find that support, you mean like in Dhamma talks, or do you have
Yeah,
something else in mind? Or
I think Dhamma talks, and like you can meditate while you're listening,
yeah, I do that. Yeah.
and just allow yourself as much as possible to let go, relax.
Uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Wow. the challenge feels huge, but
When
can't give up.
when your mind goes to the challenge is huge and the pain of the loss, think about everything you have. You have a home.
Yeah, I do. I was just doing that before the
Yeah.
talk for this
And
morning.
like you said, you have this opportunity, you have the Dhamma, you have connections with teachers.
Yes,
You have, you have what you need.
yes,
Tell yourself, I have what I need.
yes, that's very good. I'll use that. Thank you so much, Ayya. That's very good. I have what I need. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
Thank you.
Hmm. Anything else you'd like to bring up at this point? Do you feel like you have what you need? Yeah. Yeah, the phrase that was part of this chant that was done where I went to ministry school at the end of every service, they would, in this moment, all of my needs are met. And I really explored that because I had a lot of unhappiness at that time in the beginning when I started that program and when I came to that place. So much loss, it felt like, and to really think about that. In this moment, all of my needs are met. Give it some thought. Because we're not going to have our needs met. I mean, let me put it another way. The world does not meet our needs. Not at that ultimate level. We can have everything. We can have more than enough of everything. You can look at the people who have billions or trillions of dollars at their disposal and they're not happy. We have what we need to be happy, to be free from suffering. And it really is up to us to take that on and make use of it. Okay, thank you, everyone. I hope you have a good week. We're going to be on retreat next week, but I am going to be doing this program and the Friday night program. So, but only online. I don't think anyone here comes in person, maybe, but we won't be here at the meditation center. We'll be at the Hermitage online. That's the plan anyway.